Across central Illinois using their creative writing skills to inform others.
They're writing news stories, and some have even been published in local newspapers. Sam Matheny is introducing us to future journalists that you might just see on 25 News someday.
So I just think it's important for people to understand kind of how the newer generation is seeing these problems and how we might deal with it.
There's science, math, and then there's creative writing. The 7th graders at Peoria Academy are also honing their skills and practicing as journalists. Amelia Stevenson and Amini Gazzardo helped start a journalism club last year.
I thought that a journalism club and a newspaper would be a great way to be able to write and to be able to talk to my classmates and the people at the school about things that are happening.
They interview other students about school events and topics that may affect them, like the impacts of social media on mental health and why college costs are high. Humanities teacher Holly Roki says they put it together in an article each month and it gets posted in the Community Word newspaper.
It's asking the students to look not just at the facts of what's happening, but to look at the story behind it.
But in rural communities, access to local news is dwindling. The Medill School of Journalism at Northwestern University says more than half of U.S. counties either don't or have limited access to local news. Students at Roanoke Benson High School are working to fill that gap.
Students in the dual credit writing class are in their journalism unit, taught by English teacher Clinton Soper.
Small towns can lose their impact, but every town, including small towns, has really amazing people and stories that need to be shared.
Some of the students had their articles posted in the Woodford County Journal, like Gracie Vineyard, who wrote a story about her hiking trip with scouts in New Mexico.
It was really important for me because I want to share something that I have known and loved for most of my life.
It's something that has meaning beyond just school. So I hope that some of my students go on to be reporters or authors, poets, writers, and just to continue to write. That's my biggest hope.
In the classroom, Sam Matheny, 25 News.
All right, we'll see you on 25 News someday. Could